good morning everyone. Today is the lecture 12 of cloud computing. So, in this lecture, we discuss about the design interconnection network. Last class, we started this data center design and interconnection network. In last class, I told you data center is situated in a particular location, right? Which may suffer power issue, which may suffer cooling issue, right? So in order to avoid that, what they are doing, they are placing the physical resources in a container, right? So in this slide, you can see there is a truck, right? There is a truck that contains one container. Like in national highway, saying a big truck, right? That is having the container which is taking several cars or several tractors, right? So once it is delivered to a particular company, then they will again do the other works, right? But manufacturing works, once the manufacturing work is done, then these things are transported from one company to another company. Means all the things of a particular product is not done by a particular company, right? So raw material is another company. Okay, raw material is one handled by one company. Preparing the basic product is one company. Then covering is another company, right? Like that, the resources are transferred from one place to another place. So in this case, you can see one truck is there. That truck is having your physical resources, just like your server, right? And these servers are connected each other, right? And can provide resources to the user, right? Based upon the user demands, so the resources can be provided. The only difference with the data center that is located in a particular place and data center in the form of container is that here it is movable. You can see this truck can travel from one place to another place wherever the resources is required. So sometimes if the resources requirement is more, then what you can do, you can take multiple trucks that is having multiple containers, right? So they can place at a single place and can provide the resources. Okay, like I told you about distributed ATM, like our ATM machines are there, that they are located in various parts of the particular city, right? But they are static. But here this one is your dynamic, right? You can move your resources from one place to another place. So this is a truck tower container in the SGI IC Cube modular data center, right? One particular modular data center, okay, that is SGI IC Cube modular data center, okay, where your resources are there inside that container, okay, just like in a data center, like in a library you have seen there are several racks are there, right? Similarly, in the data center, several racks are there. In each and every rack, you have servers, and the resources are communicating each other through either Mininet or fast Ethernet or 1 Gbps Ethernet. Okay, so they are connected to each other. So if you see a typical example, this particular truck contains 46,080 processing cores, right? Yeah, 30 GB of storage per container. So based upon the requirement of a particular place, what you can do, you can use this truck towered ICE cube container. Okay. So if the requirement is for the 10 truck, right, which can fulfill the demand of a particular user, then you can take help of 10 containers. So data center should not be present in a single place. So by the help of this concept, this container concept, you can move data center from one place to another place. What is the advantages you are going to get? The power consumption is reduced. For example, assume that X is having X location. If you see, the power cost is more, right? Just I am representing in the form of $3, right? If you move to Y location, the power power rate is single dollar, means less in comparison to X. X location is charging more, Y location is charging less. So if the container is like this in the previous slide, what you can do? You can move the data center from X location to Y location, so that the power cost can be reduced. Okay, the power cost, energy cost, that can be reduced, right? And suppose you have decided you have some cooling problem in the X position, right? Suppose you are relying on the water cooling instead of air conditioned cooling. You are relying on water cooling. There is no sufficient water supply in the X location. Then what you can do? You can move your container from X location to Y location, where water scarcity can be avoided, right? If you see the energy cost, power cost, the chiller cost, okay, cooling cost, this can be avoided, or this can be minimized, you can say, right? And you can see also in a single container, you have so many cores or so much storage power, okay, 30, 50 is small thing, right? So it is again in 2000, but if you see in 2000, you consider it in a particular container, the size is even more, the storage size is even more, the processing capability is again more, right? So you can achieve higher computer density. So in a single place, the computing density is very high. Means in a single place, so many servers which can fulfill your demand. Okay. Third important part, just I told you, that is called as the mobility. Mobility, you can move from one location to X location, like X location to we are moving to Y location, right? So earlier data center is residing in a single place. So based upon the locality or based upon that particular location, they are paying the energy cost or they are paying the cooling cost, right? But now they can, as the mobility is an important feature in such data center, the modular data center, what you can do, you are able to move the data center from one location to another location. That is called as mobility to relocate data center. You have that power to move the data center from one place to another place. That I told you that electricity cost will be minimized because the electric cost with respect to the location is varies. In India also, with respect to the state, the electricity price is different, right? So you can move by applying this, as it is having the mobility feature, and you can provide the better cooling, water supplies, okay, and cheaper housing for maintenance engineering. You need not purchase a particular warehouse kind of thing to keep the data center, as this thing can be movable from one location to another location. And it is stated that 80% reduction in the cooling cost. For example, I want to move the data center from X location to Y location. Y location is present. In Y location, you can see one sea is there or one river is there, from where you can supply the water, right? So the cost of cooling in that manner is also reduced. That's why moving to the container, right, is a good initiative in two aspects. One is with respect to these things, whatever we discussed. Second is one location should not charge. Okay, for example, if you are pointing to a particular location, the charge may vary because you need power, you need cooling. Without that, you cannot run the data center. So one person can increase the price, or one person can increase your warehouse price, or theft is also one of the part, right? Somebody may want to destroy your data center, but if you go for such container, then there is no question of destroying the data center because the data center is movable, right? But there are some issues with respect to such container as well, right? First things you can say, how much resources is required for a particular location is a question mark, right? Like I told you in the last class, a data center size is same as the size of 11 football court, right? So if such a big data center is required, how many blocks you required, you imagine, right? So in that case, this movable data center is unable to provide the resources. Even it is provided the resources costly. But you can say, if the resources is average one, okay, not a high demand resources, it is small to the average one, that can be provided by using such container. Right? That is the advantages you are going to get if you are using a container. But there are some issues are there with respect to data integrity, server monitoring, and security management. Okay, like in a data center, there is some data center engineers are there. There is some security staffs are there. Maintenance engineers are there. They are monitoring the resources. But if the data center is movable in container, who is going to manage this thing? Right? That is very much important. Who is going to manage everything? With respect to that, there are a lot of issues are there. Next is, if there is some natural calamity or there is a rain, okay, so you have to ensure that these resources are not destroyed, because they are movable, right? In data center you can take care because that is a particular location, but here the location is not known to you, location is variable, right? So weatherproofing and it is easy to transport from one location to another location, but with respect to a proper location, you have to deal with these issues. Because while you are moving from one location to another location, it may happen that there is some issues with the second location. In terms of weather, in terms of transport issues, in terms of local issues that you have to take care. So both data center, whether it is a static one or movable one, both are having their own advantages and disadvantages. But there is a possibility to move the data center through the container, which is loaded in a truck, right? So that we can meet the resource demand of a particular user or a particular company. For example, you can see here in this case, for example, in this COVID-19 scenario, I want to process something. I got a data set. In the data set, I found some measures. Okay, I found a bulk amount of patients with their some symptoms, with their some testing with test results, right? Medical reports. After that, I want to apply some kind of algorithm for which I require a big amount of power, computational power, or I want to store this record for which I require some storage power. So what you can do, if the data center is far away from my place, what I can do, I can take help of this container, right? So this container will help the healthcare industry in that manner. In which manner? You can say this container will be available in the clinical site. Wherever you want to do analysis or wherever the hospitals are there, where you want to do analysis, in that place, I can place the container and I can start a data center. Don't need to bother about the location data center, because location data center is far away from you. Like say in India, the data center is present at, let's say, in Mumbai or New Delhi. Okay, so suppose we want to assess these things. So by the help of container, the data center can move to the place of the user. That advantages you are going to get. Okay. So this is the basic requirement, right? Not necessarily the data center will be placed in a location, everything will be managed there. It can be movable. There is another research area just I would like to introduce. There is a research area called Vehicular Cloud Computing, which we call as VCC, Vehicular Cloud Computing. Vehicular cloud computing emerges two different area or merges two different area, emerging area. One is called as your vehicular ad hoc network. Another is called as a very famous the cloud computing. Right? These two area is merged to make a new area that is called as vehicular cloud computing. Many people call as vehicular clouds as well. What vehicular network says? Earlier, if you concentrate on a single device, okay, the device having less mobility. Less mobility means the device is not that much movable. But nowadays, our vehicles are equipped with many devices like GPS is there, radar is there, several sensors are there in a particular car, which we call as smart vehicle. Today's vehicle is completely different from traditional vehicles. Traditional vehicles, you don't have much things, but today's vehicle, you have lot of things. And these vehicles, the important property is that they are movable. They are movable. They are moving from one location to another location. They are moving from one location to another location. So mobility here, it is high. Mobility is not low. Earlier the devices is almost static, but now the devices can move from one location to another location, just like our vehicle. The smart vehicles are very frequently moving from one location to another location. So VNet focus on the mobility. Cloud computing requires the resources in order to execute the work of the user or user applications. So what you can do by merging these two areas, instantly you can create a cloud and provide the resources to the customer. Because parking lots are there, airport is there, or you can say shopping malls are there, where lot of vehicles are parked for long duration of time. Like parking slot, people are going and they are parking their vehicles. These vehicles can be act like a rented resources, which can execute the works of the user, or which can run the user application as well. Right? So you are taking the property of the vehicular adapter, that is the mobility is very high. In cloud computing, you want to instantly create and provide the resources. And once the resources is provided, okay, everything will be communicated to the cloud. Right? So in this manner, you can see the cloud is not static. Now the cloud is movable. Right? Now our smartphones also, whenever you are traveling, you are moving from one location to another location. Your network also varies, right? Suppose you want to download or you want to upload something, upload a picture in Facebook. So while you are transferring from one place to another place, so it really depends upon your internet connection, right? It is not necessary to sit in front of a desktop and laptop to upload a photo in Facebook. Rather than using the handheld devices like smartphone, you can also upload the picture to Facebook. How you are doing? This is also, we are using the cloud resources. Here user is movable, but cloud data center is static. But in this case, I do not know what is about the user, but the cloud resources are movable. So user can move and cloud resources are also movable. Okay, so such type of services can be provided through container. And if you see what kind of interconnection network is there inside a container, you can see this particular diagram. This is called as a B-cube. So B-cube provides you high performance server centric for building a modular data center. Okay, the interconnections of various servers with switch inside a container can be done by using your B-cube. For example, you can see here there are two levels, level 0 and level 1. So this is a typical example to show the B-cube 1. In order to build B-cube 0, similarly, whenever you want to develop B-cube 2, you require the help of B-cube 1. Means n plus 1 design is done using the nth one. For example, if you see here, in the bottom level, you have circle. Each and every circle is represented as a server. So you can see here, just like in matrix, we are taking 00010203. Okay, so there are 4 number of servers. Okay, so by looking into the first index, we are also giving the index to the switch. Okay, index to the switch also given as a 00, right? Similarly, come to this figure. You have you can say 4 servers are there. They are 10111213. So, sorry, this based upon the level 0, the first index of the switch is given as 0, right? And based upon the server numbering, you are going to assign the second index. For example, in this case, all the servers are starting with 0. That's why the second value is 0. All the values are starting with 1. That's why we are giving 1. Similarly, all the values are giving as 2, right? So it is 2 and it is 3. Similarly, you can see in the level 1 switch, the first index is 1 for all the switches. So these rectangles are represent your switch and the circle are represented as your server. So this is a B cube 0, right? This is another B cube 0, B cube 0 and B cube 0. They are connected to level 1 switch, which we call as a B cube 1. So in this manner, you can connect the server with switch, and these switches are connected to the level 1 switch and so on, in order to provide resources to the user application. Okay. So here the servers are the circles, as I mentioned. Switch are nothing but the rectangle. The bottom layer is your level 0, where server nodes are there. Always in the bottom level, you have the server nodes. And level 1 switches are there in the top layer of BQ0. So there are multiple BQ0s. Okay, in the top BQ0, you have level 1. Okay. Next, if you go for BQ0, you concentrate in a single BQ0. What it is saying? N server connecting to N port switch. How many servers are there? They are connected to a 4-port switch. You see here, what is the size of this port of this switch? It is having 4 different ports, right? And in order to connect a particular server, you can see a server is connected by multiple switches. Why it is so? As I mentioned in the previous class also, that there may be a link failure or there may be some failure happen. So what will happen? What is the result? You can connect to another link. That's why multiple switches are connected to a single server, right? In order to build B cube K, that K is greater than equal to 1, is structured from n B cube K minus 1 with n to the power K n port switches. In this figure, we have taken B cube 1, which indicates that K value is 1. How you have designed it? Using 4 B cube 0 with 4 1-port switches. There are 4 switches are there. They are connected to this B cube 0 in order to build a B cube 1. Right? This is the complete structure. Right? Now, similarly, you can combine B cube, okay, to go for B cube 1 or B cube 2, B cube 1. Okay, this B cube is used inside a server container. Or you can combine multiple B frame a M cube, or we call it a MD cube. It is called as a MD cube, not M cube. MD cube. MD cube stands for modularized data center cube, which is nothing but connecting multiple B cube container by using high speed switches. So switch is a interconnection devices, right? By using this switch, you can combine multiple B cubes in order to form a MD cube. Another example I am going to show you how you can combine this B cube to form an MD cube. Like I will take 9 B cube in the next figure. These 9 B cubes are combined in order to form a ND cube. See this one? So here what happened? A two-dimensional MD cube is structured from 9 B cube containers. So each and every one is treated as a your B cube container. So this is a container. The name is 00. This is another container. Container 01, 02. Just like matrix 00, 01, 02, 10, 11, 12, 20, 21, 22. Okay. Again the same logic. These are the switches which is used to. These are the switches which is used to communicate between one container with another container. One container is communicating with another container through these switches. Okay. And what is the meaning of these nodes? These nodes are nothing but your server. Earlier you are giving the server number based upon the label. Here you can say it is represented as in the form of a container. For example, this container is 00. The nodes are represented 00.00, 00.10, 00.01, 00.1. Similarly, container 22 means it is 22.00, 22.01, 22.10, 22.1. And you can see also, in order to generalize these things, you can see 00.0001. So in this column, only this 01 is varying. So it is represented as 00.0 star. Why it is used? For example, I want to send all the data to 00.0 star. Then I can use these abbreviations as well. Similarly, if you see in this, here it is 0, here it is 1. So we are writing star 0. Star means anything. It may be 0 or 1. So in this way, you can combine multiple B cube to form a MD cube, right? So that is one of the, you can design a data center by combining such B cubes by forming a MD cube. Some lot of issues with respect to the data center management also. Okay, like where the data center is present in a location, multiple staffs are working. The security to whoever is managing the data center, right? There is a data center staffs are there. They are managing. They are also taking care everything of the data center. But in this container, it is movable. As container is movable, so there is a lot of issues. Not limited to the container, there is also some issues with respect to the data center as well. First thing is that in data center, you have to achieve that both customer and the provider need to be happy. If you are providing a services by paying high amount, then nobody will attract to your services. Or at the same time, you should not give the resources in very cheap rate, which will not return you the operational cost. So the main reason behind is that you have to see how user will be happy, how the provider will be happy by getting at least the operational cost. That's why the first point says making common users happy. So in order to happy the customer, you should not say that I will provide the service in a lower cost. At the same time, you have to see that how you will run the data center, how you are going to pay the salary to the staffs, or how you are getting the cost of the various resources. That also you need to think. Next, second one is with respect to your availability. We always want to achieve high availability, right? In no case the data center will slow down. At any point of time, the data center resources will be available so that the user can access such resources. Okay. There is also some issues with respect to multi-user manageability. As multiple users are requesting for the resources, multiple users can be assigned to the same physical machine. So you have to see that one user work should not be overlapped with another user's work. If it is so, then it is having issues related to multi-user. That's why I told you in the market-oriented architecture as well that you have to ensure that whatever resources are there, that is sufficient to handle the request of the multiple customers. If not, simply reject the request. Otherwise, you are violating the service level agreement. So you are going to pay for that service. Okay, or as you are paid as a provider, you are going to pay to your customer. Okay, there is also issues with respect to the database. Okay, database updating is always a issue because there are some shared variables are there. That shared variable, if it is changed, it may lead to inconsistency. Or there is also issues related to server maintenance. As I told you, every 18 months the configuration is changed, right? Or in each and every day, you may face some issues with a server. The server may crash, the server may fail. So maintenance of the server is also an important issue with respect to the data center. Similarly, other issues are related to the scalability to prepare for database growth. As the number of users are increasing, you have to expand your infrastructure in terms of storage, processing, input and power required to run the resources is also more and cooling also more as the resources are going to be increased. That's why managing the data center, okay, whatever based upon the number of users are seeking the request to the particular cloud service provider, if you can manage with a limited number of resources without drastically increasing your physical resources, then you can manage the you have to rely on the resource management policies, right? For example, 100 customers are sufficient to work in your environment or in your infrastructure. Suppose instead of 100, 110 users are asking for the asking the resources. So if you are able to manage this 110 people with the same infrastructure, so you require a proper resource management policy. If you properly utilize the resources, if you properly use the help of the load balancer in order to make the servers as busy as possible, then this manageability is possible, which can accommodate 110 users with the same infrastructure. Otherwise, the devices required or the resources whatever required need to be more, which also tends to your power required is also required, power is also more required and cooling is also more required, right? Similarly, reliability in the virtual infrastructure. Once a server is failed, then how the backup server will come into picture? Okay, so this moving from one server to another server, how you can avoid it? Making the secondary as primary and making the primary in a and repair the primary, right? The time required to move from a primary to secondary should be as minimum as possible. So this failover plays an important role, right? Similarly, fault tolerance and VM live migration. If a VM is running in a particular physical resources and that physical resource is failed, how you can move that that virtual machine from one physical machine to another physical machine, and you have to resume the work of that virtual machine in the new physical machine. So that is called as your VM live migration. How you can migrate from one physical machine to another physical machine, that is playing an important role. Some other issues are also related to provider that I told you. Making common users happy as well as you have to ensure that you are getting your return on investment. Security enforcement, data protection is also an important issue, and it will be remain an important issue of any technology, right? And finally, you have to see the environmental constraints as well. You should not increase the resources as much as possible by destroying our environment. You have to also make an ecosystem or environmentally friendly solution so that user application can be executed at the same time your environment is not spoiled. That's required your green information technology. So these are the issues with respect to data center. Then we will discuss about the architectural design of specifically two cloud. One is your compute cloud, another is called as a storage cloud. So there are four design goals here to go for architectural design. First one is called scalability or elasticity, you can say. There is a difference between the scalability and elasticity, but the concept more or less same. Second one is virtualization, which is a technique where you can accommodate multiple virtual machines in a single physical machine. Efficiency of the system, it may be energy efficiency, it may be power efficiency, okay, it may be the efficiency of the system. Next one is for reliability of the system. Okay, in reliability, you have to keep track of mean time between failure, mean time to failure, mean time to repair. I told you some formula in some class. So that you have to take care in order to achieve the better reliability. Like if you go for Amazon, Amazon achieves 11 nines. 11 nines means 99.99 reliability or durability. Okay, by providing Amazon Web Service. So it is ensuring that much durability. And cloud supports your Web 2.0 applications. Many websites are launched using Web 2.0 application, although now Web 3.0 application is also available. And managing the resources is very much important. Okay, that's why I told you. If you will not manage your resources, then what will happen? With 100 users, your resources will be adjusted. Where other cloud service provider using the same resources and they are accommodating 150 users. Right? That's why cloud management is very important. So cloud management receives the user request, finds the correct resources, which one is appropriate for it, which physical machine should deploy the application or should create a virtual machine for a particular user request, and calls for the provisioning of services. And it provisions the services to the user. Just an example, you can see whatever emails we have in Google, that user emails can be put in 3 different disks, 3 different storage. Why it is stored in 3 different storage? It may happen that one disk is failed. Disk failure may happen. So these 3 disks may not be present in the same data center. It may be present in the multiple data center. So that if a data center in a particular disk is failed, the same emails can be retrieved from other data center. So that at any point of time, user data is accessible. That is very much important. That's why I told you, a server is connected in a multiple way using various switches. The reason is that if a single link is failed, other link will come into picture. That is the advantages we are going to get. You can see various cloud enabling technologies in hardware, software, and networking. For example, few technologies are there, they are providing you fast platform deployment. The deployment time is very less. Deployment, flexible or scalable deployment, you can say. And dynamically, these resources are provided to the user. Somebody may provide virtual cluster on demand. You know, the backbone of cloud computing is grid computing or cluster computing, in which the computers or the servers are connected like a cluster. Right? So these virtualized clusters you can create the virtual machines on the cluster and provision the resources based upon the user demand. Right? Similarly, multi-tenant technique. Multiple users are accessing the same physical resources, or a single resources is accommodating multiple user applications. So that is also provided by various cloud service provider. Massive data processing. It is possible by the help of your Hadoop distributed file system or MapReduce. There you are doing multiple data processing, in which you have a single master node and a lot of slave node, This master node is giving the work to the slave node. Slave node is going to process it and return the result to the master node. Again, the master combine all the result to produce the result. Right? Similarly, web scale communication. Like many e-commerce websites like Flipkart, Amazon, these websites are there. So their load with respect to the particular day is different. How you are going to manage these resources. Similarly, distributed storage, like I told you, user emails are stored in multiple places, preferably in 3 disks. Similarly, if you go for Hadoop or MapReduce, you can see the same data is kept in 3 different places. The reason is that if there is a failure, data will not be lost. Because if data is lost, then you are violating the service level agreement. The last one, the technology is with respect to the licensing and billing services. License management, billing services also plays an important role for the cloud provider in order to provide the services to the user, right? So these are the underlying technologies. Some cloud service provider may provide a subset of this technology, okay, or one may provide all the technologies in order to attract the customer. So this is a security aware cloud platform. So you can see here the illustration is given in the form of public cloud. Here public cloud is there, right? Here client is there. Client can see the particular service catalog. I told you in Amazon EC2, whenever you create an account, you can see a service catalog. In service catalog, like whenever you are going for a particular restaurant, you are seeing their catalog. Or you are going to a bookstore, you are seeing their catalog. In the catalog is a summarization, right? Which edition book is available, what is the book name, who is the author, what is the price, everything is written. Similarly, in the cloud also there is a service catalog is there. Once by looking into service catalog, you can decide what type of resources you require. So accordingly, once you decide the service catalog, so the resource will be provided by adopting the public cloud infrastructure. Okay. And you can also, while you are choosing the service catalog, people may give importance to security, maybe based on the performance of a particular cloud service provider, reputation of a particular cloud service provider. Many things you have to consider in order to choose a particular cloud service provider and a particular services provided by that cloud service provider. Okay, and these resources are provided using the virtual cluster where we can deploy the virtual machines. The virtual machine is having the computational power as well as the storage power in order to execute the user application. Right, this is a particular cloud platform. Similarly, if you see provisioning and deprovisioning of the servers or the services in database is there in the cloud computing. At any point of time, you can request for a resources, and any point of time you can leave that resources as well. Suppose my requirement is not there, so why I will continue with that package? Okay, my requirement is not there, right? So I can run to normal mode. So in that case, I can deprovision the services as well as possible, right? The deprovisioning is also possible. So as you can say at any point of time, you can provision the resources, deprovision the resources based upon the demand. So customer do not need to know the underlying technology. That I told you, that is single system image or virtual infrastructure or virtual organization provides you the features where consumer is not relying on the underlying technology. They are not going to monitor these resources. As a cloud service provider, you are responsible for managing these resources and maintain this underlying technology and infrastructure. The location of the data center is chosen to reduce the power and cooling cost. Generally, whenever you go for a particular static data center instead of a container, people first seeing these two aspects. One is power cost, another is cooling cost. Because in order to see a data center, the maximum cost is spent towards the power and cooling and purchasing the infrastructure. But purchasing the infrastructure we cannot skip. We have to buy the server. So only things we can concentrate, that is the power and cooling cost. So that is the primary factor you have to see whenever you want to deploy a particular data center in a particular place. Okay, so generally data center should be present near to a grid, okay, or near to a place where electricity is generated in order to avoid the scarcity of electricity. Okay, that's why it is saying data centers are often built around the hydroelectric power. And if you are going for a private cloud, obviously it is easier to manage because it is managed by a particular organization. And whenever you go for public access, it is not difficult, not easier to manage, but it is easy to access. Okay, because the security boundary is not owned by a single organization. See this one here, irrespective of the public cloud, hybrid cloud, or you go for private cloud, you are providing various services. It may be infrastructure services where we are relying on the hardware or database, or it may be a platform as a services, or it is the application layer services. So you can see user can directly use this infrastructure as a service. User will take care of platform and application. So resources can be provisioned like this, or user can use the platform as a service which is backed by your infrastructure as a service. On the other hand, or on the contrary, you can say application layers are on top of the platform, which in turn top of the infrastructure to provide the services to the customer. So one can rely on IaaS or one can rely on PaaS and SaaS. But if you are relying on PaaS, it is on top of IaaS. If you are relying on the SaaS, it is on top of PaaS and IaaS. In this way, you can provide the services as per the requirement of the user. Okay, so you can see here there are 3 development layers, which is using the famous virtualization and standardization techniques, right? And these resources, whatever present in the infrastructure layer, that are connected to each other through the internet. If you want to communicate from one data center to another data center, internet is required. But inside the data center, if you want to manage something, internet is there in order to provide communicate. So this virtualization realizes the automated provisioning of resources and optimizes the infrastructure management process, right? So because of virtualization, you can do a lot of things, right? And virtualized cloud platform serves as a system. So this virtualization is what? Virtualization is nothing but a middleware, which is providing your single system image. So it is treated as middleware between the infrastructure layer and the application layer. So platform is provided. In the application layer, various types of scientific applications, not limited to these applications. For example, customer relationship, financial transaction is there, supply chain management is there. Such type of application, enterprise resource management applications. So these applications can requested in the software as a service layer as an application. And the market-oriented architecture we already discussed in the class. I told you there are 4 different layers and how these things are working in the market layer. The another architecture you can see here is given in another research paper. That is your virtualized server storage network for cloud computing construction. The same thing. If you see, more or less these architectures are same, but somebody may focus on the internal details, somebody may focus on the outer details. See here in the bottom part you have server. There may be a server, switch may be there, or some interconnection devices are there, database is there, email server is there, all things are there in the bottom layer. They are provided in the form of virtualization technique. These resources can be used by a particular user using virtualization technique by deploying the virtual machine. That's why you can see this layer is having a lot of virtual machine, right? Whenever a user is requesting from the application layer, one virtual machine will be provided based upon the requirement. And these virtual machines are running on top of this physical machine. So this complete box, this complete one, sometimes is hidden to the user. That's why it is called as black box management. So it is not shown to the user because user may not get these things. Or these virtual machines also can be divided in the form of virtual clusters. You can say this is a virtual cluster 1, this is a virtual cluster 2, something like that. Okay. And if you see here, the virtualized infrastructure is there, in which there is a virtualized integrated manager which is responsible for your load management. Like load balancer is there, right? Load balancer will be here in order to balance the load of the physical machine. Similarly, you have to deploy the resources where the resource is located. Okay, resource may be located in a particular site. The IP address of that particular everything will be managed in this particular layer. And on top of the layer, user can assess the resources. User can decide whether mirroring is required or not, whether application is required or not. Right, that will be there in the application layer of the architecture. Different cloud service provider. One is your Amazon Web Service, is called as your AWS. Another is Microsoft Azure, earlier called as Windows Azure. Another is Google App Engine. So they are compared in terms of computational cloud, storage cloud, and network cloud. One very famous thing I want to tell you here: Amazon Web Services uses elastic block storage. That is, yes, in order to store the objects, whatever you are uploading, that is treated as an object. Suppose you are uploading a text file or an image file or a video file or an audio file, each is treated as an object in the Amazon, right? And they are stored in the form of a block storage. Okay, Amazon also uses your simple storage service, also uses your simple database in order to store the data. But Microsoft Azure uses your SQL data services, the structured query language data services, by writing, extract the data from the database server. So you can see their architecture is different. The language, programming language used to develop these clouds are also different. I use Python language, somebody may use Java, somebody may use C++. A lot of differences are there. Is different, their billing process is different, their subscription is different. So in that manner, you can classify, you can talk with Microsoft Azure with your Google Azure, right? And these things you can go through it. Okay, maximum things we have discussed. Next, what will happen? Suppose somebody will say, I will not going to use virtualization, or I will not go to the cloud. So in this particular diagram, the first one represent the traditional one. Second one is nothing but your cloud one, right? Traditional one, what you are doing while you are purchasing a particular hardware or a server, you are configuring it, you are installing the operating system, you are installing the backup agent, you are taking a backup storage. Then the process is started. So that if there is some failure will happen, then you can initiate this recovery process by seeing this backup agent. But cloud, what will happen? Once there is a failure, one image is already created. One server is crashed. So that backup copy you can retrieve and you can start in another physical machine. So you can restore the virtual machine configuration and start the data recovery process. You need not bother about the configuring the hardware, or you need not bother about installing the operating system. So that's why it is saying recovery overhead. If you see in the first case, that is called as a conventional disaster recovery scheme. But in the second scheme, you can do live migration of the virtual machine in order to avoid this recovery process. In this way, the architectural design of the traditional one is different than your cloud computing architecture in terms of your computational cloud as well as your storage cloud, right? So we'll stop here.